Going solo, the ride that saved my life. It's that thing inside you. Go do it. It's something only for you. It may be pretty damn shallow, but that's just fine because it's for you. On the other side of it, you will realize that you and those around you are better for it. That is a note from my journal, shortly after returning from this trip. See, the title of this video is not a hyperbole or clickbait. This ride, this trip, did save my life and changed it in ways that are immeasurable. If you begin by sacrificing yourself to those who you love, you will end by hating those whom you have sacrificed yourself. George Bernard Shaw. For years upon years, 2 decades in fact, I would slowly start to fall into a deep depression, almost completely unaware of it until I had created massive upheaval and catastrophe for myself and those around me. At which point it was time to try and solve all the problems that I had created. Time for a force of will, a set of plans, goals, objectives to be obtained. Long struggle after struggle in order to obtain the goal, the will's objective that was promised to bring about peace and happiness, with complete disregard of the sacrifice and suffering that was required to obtain said objective. I would then find my success, my pride and achievement was short-lived. I had won the rat race and there was no prize. Then it would fester, the discontent. It's not something that happens all of a sudden. You get to build up to the finality of it. If this, then that. The anxiety building with zero awareness. Your mind that goes about creating problems faster than you can solve them. Every action taken, reinforcing the ending. As if the world is closing in around you. Almost daring you. Now what? Wait for the next thing to push you towards the finality? Maybe you could look to correct your path by directing this rage towards another who is responsible for it. Surely if you look, you will find many beings nearby that caused you suffering. Why not take your pound of flesh from them? It is owed, is it not? You see, before I left on this trip, I had come to the conclusion that suicide was inevitable. I'd been through the cycles a number of times before and thought to myself, if that is going to be the end, why not at least do something just for me, for myself, before I go? Obviously, with the state I was in, my relationships were a disaster. My oldest daughter had completely disowned me. This was especially difficult because I felt that I had sacrificed so much having her and starting a family at such a young age. My family and those close to me may not have known completely the totality of the peril I was in, for who can know another's mind? Yet, I was with a wife, daughters, a mother, father, even living grandparents that all loved and supported me. And still, I couldn't escape this. What was it? So my new plan was to head out on my motorcycle down to Baja, where the weather is beautiful, warm and sunny. I would ride so fast, no plan other than to outride my problems and sorrow. This is a ridiculous plan. Just like one cannot pull themselves up by their bootstraps, one cannot make a plan to solve their sorrow. Clearly my mind is broken. A broken mind is always going to make broken plans. However, something happened on that ride, and thankfully I wasn't so foolish as to think that I had successfully executed another plan of mine, that I was actually able to ride away from my problems, that the people around me had created this monster inside me. At some point I became aware I wasn't executing a plan in Baja. I was riding solo, spending hours and hours alone, sometimes in my thoughts, in my mind, but mostly just enjoying the experience, living in the exact here and now. I had no stake in Baja. It wasn't my home. I was there as a guest. Everything was new, beautiful, exciting. I was free to go whatever direction with no expectation. It became apparent to me that I had stopped judging what I was perceiving. There was no need to draw conclusions, try and predict outcomes, or take sides. I just got to be. When I did return home after a couple of months, things around me changed. People around me changed. My daughter came home and brought me a grandson into this world. What was this strange power that I had tapped into? I began to slowly investigate my thoughts, only to find that none could be trusted. On what information did I construct these thoughts? Can that information be trusted? If not, then why draw a conclusion? I work constantly on not judging and drawing conclusions, becoming aware that my opinion, my judgment, my conclusion is used to block my heart, box in my being. Slowly, one by one, barriers began to fall. I was healing. The world around me was healing. Then suddenly, it was gone. I heard a literal click in my right ear, passed through my head, clicked twice in my left ear. When I got out of bed that morning, I walked out to my shop with my coffee in hand. It was wet, cold, and miserable outside. I had piles of work to do. My situation was the same as it's ever been, but I was totally cool with it. I remember thinking, how can I feel this way? Nothing has changed. Yet everything had changed. I went about my day peacefully and productively and haven't worried about depression since. There it is. The story of an awesome motorcycle ride, trying to escape, trying to run from the things I hid within in an effort to capture what I had all along.